Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of For What It's Nerd. It's been a while. We're back. This is season 2 now of For What It's Nerd. Season 1 had, I think, 16 episodes, a few minor, smaller episodes, but, you know, a pretty good start for season 1. Season 2 is obviously going to be spanning a full year instead, whereas season 1 was about, I don't even think it was 6 months, but around about that kind of scope. But we're back. We're here. We're in a new place. As you guys can see, if you're watching on YouTube, if you can't, head over to YouTube. You should check it out. But I'm very excited. I think we have a lot to discuss this year. A lot of things are coming out. A lot of things are happening, and we're going to discuss it all. Before we get into kind of the meat of the situation, I do want to discuss a little change that's happening, both with For What It's Nerd here and for Peralta's Place, my gaming channel. Now, up to now, my TikTok has just been Peralta's Place, and yes, we've had For What It's Nerd TikTok too, but that TikTok has been just like small edits of this, which I have done kind of infrequently. What I'm planning to do going forward is actually change that up to where For What It's Nerd is not just a podcast, but it's my nerd musings in general. So anything that's TikTok related that is nerd related will now be going straight onto For What It's Nerd, both on TikTok and on YouTube, YouTube Shorts, etc. Anything like unboxing games or anything like that will also come on this channel, like board games, should I say, and like that kind of stuff, anything in that kind of genre. Essentially anything that isn't physical, like that isn't digital gaming, essentially. I'm mumbling a bit, but what I'm trying to say is that Peralta's Place on all platforms will now solely be about gaming, and For What It's Nerd is where all of the nerd discussion will be. It sounds very simple, but it hadn't been that way up till now, and I think this is really going to streamline the process. It also meant I could get rid of Peralta in Portrait, which was an extra channel I had for those videos that were from Peralta's Place, but didn't feel like they fit on the gaming channel. So it just eliminates a whole channel, and on top of that, allows me to have the two spheres of what I do, but in the place that makes sense for them, essentially. With that said, today's episode was going to be a discussion of Bad Batch. The Bad Batch started on the beginning of this week and with a two episode premiere, but sadly, I haven't watched it yet. Now, you guys are probably thinking, wow, you haven't watched a Star Wars show almost as immediately as it came out. And I've got to be honest, I wasn't a big Bad Batch person anyway. I did not enjoy season 1 that much. There was good parts, and I do enjoy some of the characters. But generally speaking, not a huge fan of where that story is heading. Now, I will say that most of the animation projects, Clone Wars and Rebels, and somewhat Resistance, but less so, season 1 was worse than going forward, season 2, etc., and so on. But I feel that this time, I don't think I'll be any more interested in the Bad Batch as a concept, the kind of stereotypical archetypes that they've been fit into. And I don't think unless the story itself gets interesting, like the stuff that's happening around them, that I'll be super, super intrigued about what's going on. Not to say I won't watch it, but I think I'll probably give you guys an update on what I'm feeling about Bad Batch in 1 or 2 weeks when I finally get around to watching it. In the meantime, though, I thought maybe we'd do something a little bit different. Well, not a little bit different. We've done it before, but I thought we'd discuss the books that I'm currently reading / have read recently. So I kind of had like a big reading binge over the holiday, and we do have a few that I did kind of finish, get through. 1 second, I did forget one. It's actually on the shelf, so I won't get it off because it's going to cause issues. But for those watching on stream, on YouTube, should I say, Black Panther, I read a full Black Panther comic, like series of comics, like a whole story. That was really good. It was really engaging. It was a story about a kind of nation next door that was trying to destabilize Wakanda, and it was very it was asking the question of what is a king and how can a king of a seemingly enlightened people still be a king. It was trying to talk about democracy in that kind of scenario, so to speak. Very interesting, very political, and it was nice because whilst there were head villains, the actual villain of the piece, quote unquote, was the idea of how do you change a nation, which was very interesting and very poignant, I think, for a lot of people, especially in the modern world. I think whilst obviously it's very much of interest to African heritage and like that kind of heritage, I think it's a question that everyone should be asking. I think it was a great comic to do that with, a great character to do with that with, to see T'Challa going through those challenges alongside Shuri and Ramonda, etc., and so on. It does also kind of feel very much reminiscent of certain parts in Wakanda Forever, so that was really nice to be able to go into and kind of enjoy. Other than that, I've been kind of going on a Star Wars binge. I finally finished Princess and the Scoundrel, which is the Han and Leia book set, like kind of during their honeymoon. I'll say that was a hard read. The middle part was very hard. The beginning was really good. The middle wasn't the best. And then the end, I think, really picked it up again, was quite interesting. It was funny because it actually reminded me of Star Wars The Old Republic, which is the MMO, the Star Wars MMO, the second Star Wars MMO. But in that, there is a planet that gets destabilized by mining, and it is saved by essentially manipulating the core somehow, but it was very reminiscent of something that was seen in Princess and the Scoundrel. But yeah, it was a hard read, I think, because it was the opposite end of what Andor did. Andor went for this kind of approach of let's show the mundane, but in a Star Wars world. This felt like let's show Star Wars, but mundane. Now, so that sounds exactly the same, but it felt lesser in this book when they were kind of like on a cruise ship, basically. It felt weird. It didn't feel like a regular person dealing with a Star Wars problem. It felt like you put a Star Wars character on a Disney cruise liner, and essentially that's what it is, because the Halcyon is the ship that is at the park, whichever park it is or whatever experience it is. It's an attraction, the ship that they go on. Which is fine, but it goes into my box of like things I dislike alongside Batu. Not that Batu is a bad planet. I think Batu has some interesting things going on, but when it's a cash cow, I'm kind of like, like it's okay. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't super exciting either, right? It wasn't like, wow, yeah, I really love this. And I generally like some of the mundane stuff, especially like what Andor did. But again, it felt commercial, in a weird way. Opposite to that, I have been trying to get back into the High Republic, which obviously a lot of people really love, and I have enjoyed everything I've read of the High Republic, apart from Crash Point Tower. But that was like a child's book, a young adult's book, so I understand why that wasn't perhaps as strong as some of the others. But I did get through High Republic Adventures, which is featuring Ty Yorick. This is the Monster of Temple Peak, which is like a mini series. Collect Star Wars: The High Republic Adventures, The Monster of Temple Peak 1 to 4. And I really like Ty Yorick in is it Rising Storm? I think it's Rising Storm. I really enjoyed her character in this, so it was very nice to see her backstory in this and get a little bit more of an understanding of where she's coming from as a character. I also love I think I'm wrong with the species name, but Thalothians. Adi Gallias and Ty Yorick's and is it Keeve Trennis? No, Indira Stokes. One of them. No, yes, Indira. Their race, I really love their and Stas Ali as well. That's another one from the Clone Wars era. I love their species. It's really it's a really cool one. So it's really nice to see her brought to life on a page. And also, I essentially got this because like it's not on Marvel Unlimited, which obviously this is a comic done by I think it's just done by Disney itself or Panini Comics, maybe. But anyway, really, really cool. I really liked it. Very different art style, and just the gloss on the book and the way it looks is just really beautiful. I would have that displayed if I had somewhere to put it, but as you guys can see, not much room. So that was that one. Very fun, very interesting. I like that Ty Yorick always seems to get herself into a situation where she's trying to make money and then doesn't manage to because her morality gets in the way. It's a very Han Solo-esque, but also Luke-esque character. I know that some people might disagree with me on that, but I feel like she's got a little bit of both of them in her, and it's quite interesting. Opposite to that, I keep saying opposite to that, but they are kind of opposites, and I think it's very interesting. The High Republic has really brought out a lot of different types of displaying a story, different ways of displaying a story. And so this is my next one, Edge of Balance. This is the first part of that. There's two, I think, at the moment. I don't know if there is a third. I don't know. But this is a manga, a Star Wars manga, which is very interesting. Now it is obviously it is the normal way of reading, quote unquote, the way we in the West read, which is probably for the sake of people who haven't really introduced themselves to manga before. But this is really interesting. My only gripe, and it's a very, very small gripe, I love all the characters in this. I think it's very interesting. I think they've got some very different thoughts on stuff in here. I do feel it's very similar to Venestra Raw and her Padawan, Imri. I feel like Lily and Viren or Kieran, something like that. I feel like they're very similar to those two, like design-wise and kind of story-wise, but it's irrelevant because this is quite interesting and it's got really good art. And I keep saying quite interesting, but it's true. But it has some really good art. Let me see if I can find a page. Yeah, so like when they're facing off against Drengir, it's like a really, really great piece of visual stimulation, so to speak. It's a really nice way to kind of get to grips with the characters. Also, it's really nice to see characters like that we've seen in other art styles pop forward. For example, seeing Stellan Gios, that's really fun. Really good read, really light read, and I love that. I also quickly read over, I think it's the two like really like they're the child books that focus events as if from Buriaga's perspective. I forget their names off the top of my head. Like there's a few of those that are very like they're like for those who've read the main books, it's like a recounting of the book. For those who haven't, obviously it's a nice little like it's a seamless kind of it cuts out the gore and the shock for kids to kind of enjoy a little bit of the new Star Wars. Also, one thing I do want to mention about this is that this one, opposite to that, I keep saying it, this one, differently to that, is not scared to show a little bit of gore. I don't want to say it goes so far as to say it's fully gore, but as you guys can see, that is it's a dismembered head and hand and foot and so on, which is very like, don't get me wrong, Star Wars has done little bits and pieces like that before, but not showing it in that way, which is really, really cool. And again, indicative of using genre to portray different ideas about Star Wars. I really like it. Before we leave Star Wars, I do want to say as well that I am currently listening to the Tempest Runner audiobook. Not audiobook, like drama show, like audio drama, whatever you want to call it. But I kind of got it mixed up because I didn't realize that the second book surrounding the guild, I forget its name, but like the only character that's coming to mind is the leader of the guild, which isn't the character that's in the book at all because she got taken away at the end of the other book. But Scova Bine, her daughter, and the Jedi surrounding her, Wraith. Is it Wraith? And Venestra, I think, as well. But those characters I accidentally missed. I haven't got back. I didn't do that book, so I'm going to finish Tempest Runner, then go back and read that. Well, listen to it. I listen to a lot of books because I have a lot of drive time that obviously is idle time, so I try and use that to listen to dramas. But I mean, Tempest Runner is really short anyway. I think I have like 5 hours left on it. It's like a 6-hour book anyway, so it's like 5 hours, then I can go on to doing whatever. I am going to jump back to Marvel. We kind of have done a little bit of a U-turn here, back to Marvel, but I am reading this one as well. Now, this is a Folio Society collection of Hulk comics. There are other ones as well. That was what the Black Panther one was as well, but I also have Thor, Captain America, and Spider-Man. As you can see here, if you're watching again on YouTube, if you can't, why aren't you watching on YouTube at this point? I'm kidding. Please listen to it as well. I'm very excited about people listening and hearing and seeing this all over. But essentially, what you get is you get these kind of selected common. I almost want to call them a comic cross section. It's like a cross section of Hulk throughout the years, so to speak. You get like some very classic issues. You get some new stuff. You get some important events and some very poignant ones. There's a story about HIV and AIDS in here and how Hulk is kind of powerless to help a friend who has AIDS. which is very sad. Obviously, we're in a very different world to that a kind of reality now. Obviously, there's things that can be done across the board with that type of stuff, but still, very it was a very poignant read, actually, and it was very nice to see the character that can smash everything finding it hard to deal with societal problem. You know, I think that's why it was so poignant that it was Hulk. Because if it was Captain America, I feel maybe it would have still hit with Captain America, but like, you know, if it was some, let's say Tony Stark, right? It maybe wouldn't have hit as well because you'd be like, well, Tony Stark would have maybe thought up something. Like it wouldn't have been as strong a message. But yeah, so I'm enjoying this. I've got 2 more left. I think the last 2 are the one where Hulk sent away, I forgot what it was called, Planet Hulk, and then one of the Immortal Hulk. But it does just give you 1 issue. So like obviously the older ones isn't so bad because like every issue is meant to be read almost standalone. But as you get towards the back end, it's kind of hard because you're getting issues of stuff that are like part of a series that then don't follow on. You're like, what happens next? Which obviously I suppose is the intent. It's to drum up sales in a sense. But I love the visuals of this. I think this is really striking. You also do get, and I won't get it right now, but you do get like the kind of hard copy of like, and it is a copy, of course, of the original comics, the original first appearance comic, which is great. Black Panthers doesn't though, and I was very interested about this. I had to think about this for a second. I thought, why haven't they included the first issue of Black Panther with this? Because the Black Panther collection actually is just one story. Like the Black Panther collection goes through a full story arc. Understandable. Okay, I get that. But also, I had to think about this a little bit. I think most of the characters. 1 second. Let me think. Yes. So Hulk, Thor, Captain America, and Spider-Man, I believe, all showed up in their own kind of headlining issue, right? But Black Panther shows up first in a Fantastic Four issue. I think that's why they didn't put one in. But it was weird to me, and I had to think about it a little bit. I was like, why didn't they include? And it kind of clicked, and I get it, because Black Panther, like, I feel it would be almost disingenuous to include a Fantastic Four comic with Black Panther, because it would be like, what if they wanted to do a Fantastic Four collection down the line or something like that? But yes, anyway, these all came from the Folio Society. They are quite expensive, but I think they're great as an introduction to some of these characters if you've never dealt with them before, slash great as something to have if you're a fan of Marvel, as I am. Another thing as well, a little side point, I was going to do an unboxing, but it kind of became too late to do one because I got what's the word? I got impatient. But Marvel Zombies, the first part of Marvel Zombies came. I might do an unboxing when the rest comes, and then kind of discuss the first set as well. But until then, obviously, just know that I have got that, and yeah, I suppose if anyone does want to see it, I could always do a special video for that. But let me know. Also, those they're bigger versions of the Folio Society. They range on like Marvel eras, so like the Golden Era, the Silver Age, and the Bronze Age of Marvel comics. I haven't got into those yet, so I can't attest to them. But they're bigger versions, which with kind of like they're huge. They're kind of hard to deal with. If I get around to them, I'll show you guys. But I say when. But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. Obviously, like I said, there are things that are going to be coming up shortly. Mandalorian is starting soon. We will be discussing that. I will get around to discussing Bad Batch eventually. And just general stuff from now on will be coming on here as well. More general discussion. If I don't have a chance to put it in the podcast, it will come on as come up here as a YouTube short or the like. So if you're interested in seeing more nerd news, more book news, more movement news, more board game news, I guess, anything like that. If you're interested in anything nerdy, essentially, subscribe /follow /whatever you're doing / whichever platform you're on, and also check out Protler's Place for the gaming stuff. Obviously that will be going hardcore quote unquote gaming from now on. No more messing around with the nerdy side. This is the nerdy side now. nerd side of the force, so to speak. I'm very excited to be back. I'm very excited for 2023 and seeing what it has in store for us, guys. Until next time, I hope you have a good week. See you guys later.